Alright, so I'm going to address a bunch of things, but it's all going to stem from the recent attack of nature we had from Hurricane Melissa. Right? Now, this is sort of business advice, but it's also life advice. So I want you guys to listen to me carefully. Every time I do a video, every time I give advice, I'm giving advice to myself first before I give advice to others. This video, I'll be looking back on it 10 years from now, seeking encouragement. Because I'm here to tell you that adversity brings out heroism. Adversity shows the depth of character that people have. Let me give you an example before I speak any further on this. When Superman gets punched, we are in awe of his strength and his durability. When he gets punched through a mountain, when he gets punched through a building, when he gets punched from space and he falls to earth. How he withstands the adversity is a demonstration of his strength. Likewise, in Jamaica, without the adversities, the misfortunes that we experience, we don't see the strength that we have. Because I live in a country that's it's riddled with crime, and yet I am amazed at the compassion that people have shown. In case nobody knows, in case you have been living under a rock, in case you have no clue of what goes on weather-wise in this world, we had a Category 5 hurricane move along the southern coast of Jamaica and take almost an acute angle. Well, not almost, it took an acute angle, right? And went through St. Elizabeth and Trelawney, two rural parishes, severely damaged parts of St. James. I was going to say Montego Bay, but St. James and parts of Westmoreland. I'm sure Hanover was affected, but based on what I'm hearing, it doesn't seem as much, and as much as Manchester was affected, it doesn't seem as much, and I'm sure St. Anne was affected as well. But I'm talking about catastrophic damage, and the good, upstanding members of Jamaica have rallied from various corners and crevices to assist. And whilst we have some pieces of crap who have shut up their bowels of compassion and waste their time away on social media and in the barber shops and on the street corners and in the bars and sometimes even in the supermarkets, talking crap and broadcasting propaganda, broadcasting conspiracy theories, while those persons do their very best to perpetuate chaos in this country. a large amount of Jamaicans have rallied together and focused on the problem because they understand the situation, and rather talk rubbish, they choose to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. We have the government that's doing their part. I never saw it on TV, but I don't know. RGR just, I don't know if RGR probably has one of the best reception, but RGR got the press conference when we had no electricity. I was I was using a solar panel to run a radio, and we got the full length of a press conference, getting an update. This was like the day after the hurricane, of all the day after or 2 days after, from the key ministries involved. And what I found quite pleasing, as somebody who works in ICT and understands the importance of, I won't even say cybersecurity, because being deceived is less of a cybersecurity issue and more of a deception issue. And the technology ministry informed us of the seriousness of these scammers making fraudulent websites to collect money, and clarified some very basic concepts of HTTPS, hypertext transfer protocol, secured sites, as well as government approved websites, which are .gov.jm in their domain name, right? That extension. They clarified that, and some Jamaicans have rallied around and ensured that the correct websites, and there are a number of them approved by the government of Jamaica, they have ensured that these websites are known. Like this guy Peter Suker, I'm messing up your name, sorry sir. Those wedding planning, I was not too long ago watching some of his videos that he would have made during that first week, and he's on TikTok, and he's in Kingston, so he got electricity before a lot of us, and he kind of helped to put a lot of things in perspective. But he had support Jamaica.gov.jm across many of his videos. You know, the depth of compassion that some Jamaicans show is amazing. But as someone who lives among monsters, it is amazing how many compassionate people walk this island. Because while the monsters go about their business and care nothing about those in need, those suffering, there are so many, the vast majority of Jamaicans, I would think, are compassionate. You know, we talk about bad apples, and bad apples are a few. They will spoil the bunch, but there are a few. And there are monsters sprinkled across all 14 parishes in Jamaica. But the vast majority of Jamaicans are... I keep not wanting to use the word honest, because honesty is something that is not in plentiful supply. But I will say compassion is, because even the most dishonest person will show compassion, right? Because even the dishonest person will think about, and the dishonest person will steal food from your van because he wants to feed his family and his friends, but he's still dishonest. Anyway, I'm going off topic. It is amazing when I saw in that man's video the amount of volunteers that were helping at Food for the Poor, the amount of volunteers that were helping at I think it was Knutsford Court Hotel. Um, I know there are celebrities, Jamaican celebrities that are have their own foundation, and it is easy to be negative. I know the monsters will play on the negativity because yes, there are charities in Jamaica that steal money and misappropriate funds. But at this moment, saying it now, or should I say, saying it in the first 2 weeks, does not help. Most people want to say, aha, I told you so, but highlighting the possible dishonesty of people does not stop them from being dishonest. Right? So I would I would expect everyone to focus on helping. Now 2 weeks have passed and we know things are in shambles in St. Elizabeth, messed up in Westmoreland. I can't even imagine Trelawney. I mean, I've seen videos from persons who have family there. I was in Trelawney like 2 days before the hurricane came, right? I was there for the weekend, for a couple days, well. And to see the destruction of even places that I was at was amazing. But it is just so beautiful how the true Jamaican spirit comes out. And that man, Peter Sukir, I'm sorry, I just keep messing up your name. Like he highlighted some stuff and I realized something, which is it ties into the essence of my point is your true character comes out in times of adversity. And as I said, I'm going to be watching these very same videos in the future when I am going through challenges and seeking some sort of encouragement. This very same video, because I tell you, without adversity, we do not realize, firstly, how strong we are, and we don't realize the strength of our character. He said something. He said, the Prime Minister and his team have done a good job, and I will admit they have done a good job of of helping. And the thing is, without this tragedy, we would not realize how effective they are. And then I thought to myself, if COVID never came, COVID was a tragedy, people lost their lives in different ways than how people have lost their lives now. But that tragedy showed the character of the government at the time. It's the same government now, but the the COVID situation showed their character, showed their urgency to respond, showed their backbone. And this tragedy has shown such character as well. Now, in our lives, the tragedies we go through is going to show our very character. The obstacles we overcome is going to show our true strength. The lower you get beaten down, the stronger you are seen in the eyes of those who know. As I said, if Superman never had Doomsday to fight against, we would not know how strong he was. If he was fighting against Batman, we'd be like, yeah, whatever. the obstacles we face, St. Elizabeth, the obstacles you face is showing how strong you are. Westmoreland, St. James, Trelawney, the obstacles you face is showing your strength. I was even thinking about it, the Maroons. I'm wondering how they are getting, how they're carrying on, because I think Akapongkong, keep messing up their name, is on that route there where you go to where you'd go to Magati, and the roads were blocked around there up until I think up until Saturday. I was talking to somebody in Mandeville. He said all around there. I wanted to use it as an alternate route, but it was blocked, right? And I'm thinking they aren't even, they are, in fact, they're a sovereign nation, right? So they aren't even on paper, and I'm sure they aren't being neglected, but on paper they would have to fend for themselves. Like our people are going through some serious problems, but how we respond, how we treat each other shows our character. Which is why I think to myself, how is it that we do these things, these wonderful acts of kindness, and we still turn around and push people off the bus step? I don't know. It's like we're getting more primal. But I can tell you, our character as Jamaicans is really coming out. Like the level of response I've seen, and I know a lot of people might feel helpless, and they just, I, I, I don't won't even say what others have said, because I think I would have exhausted it in saying, if you want to help, buy stuff, give it to some foundation that's reputable, and have it sent down, right? And don't jam up the roads, because I've been down there and it is not pretty, right? Um, in fact, I'm trying to been there a couple of times, and I'm thinking of trying to let some of this blow off, because when things have stabilized, I'll have to accompany another team down there to clean up. Some people have done. Oh, jeez, I just remembered I was supposed to message a friend who had posted some cleanup. I was supposed to reach out to him. I didn't even remember. He's in St. Elizabeth. Damn. Yeah. Um. Yeah, cause in fact, last time I went, we were supposed to do some cleanup, and it just didn't work out. Yeah, but people need your help, right? But let me get back on track. The adversities we face, and normally this concept comes out in business and in um like life lessons, but mostly in business. But I tell you, these things, when it doesn't break you, it's going to make it sounds so cliche. Makes you stronger. There must be a more effective way of saying this, but you do become more powerful. The thing is, the problem is, many times when you go through these things and you become more powerful, people don't exercise the power, right? So you could go through an adversity and you gain power. And when I'm talking about power, I'm talking confidence, mental toughness, intelligence, because you have learned new information, you have learned wisdom. Sometimes you gain physical strength as well, right? And many times we need to not let these things crush our spirit, but be bold in what we do, right? I'm seeing now. Uh, I don't know if I'm discerning here, or let me just say it. I'm seeing two things. In fact, let me just say it since I'm already in this very long video. I'm seeing a concept I've spoken about, which, I mean, the last time I was, my team and I were going to St. Elizabeth, they were basically saying I was talking foolishness because I was saying, um, we need Jamaica Public Service Company needs to invest in running their cables underground. And they were saying it's going to be too expensive and all. And they were basically shutting down what I was saying. Like I was just talking foolishness. Now, being somebody who had lived in the United Kingdom for a number of years and seen the investments of underground cabling and done my own due diligence in the past and understood that um, while underground for anything is more expensive, it always is more long term, right? And the prime minister had said something to them, and now they are researching. They already knew all this thing already, right? And it would be wonderful if this is the trigger that forces them to run these cables underground. And I've been talking about this issue for a number of years in my circle, not just JPS, but our utilities providers, Flow and Digital, run everything underground. And I mentioned a concept which a lot of people couldn't really understand. They were like, "Oh, so how does it go in your house?" I'm saying you can leave all the light posts up in every community, but the ones on the main, run them underground. Run them underground. When you enter a community, it's going to come up through a substation. That's how it works in other countries, right? Comes up through like a substation and then distributes. So, yes, you could have those posts up. Yes, it wouldn't be fully underground, but the backbone, right? Or even if you don't want to go in a housing scheme, let everything on the main run underground, right? So when the next hurricane comes and tears down light posts, it only affects in the community, right? So those cables that are the backbone, the infrastructure of the entire network, they'll be underground. They'll be safe and sound, right? And don't tell me foolishness about landslides and earthquakes and all that stuff. That affects everything, right? Let's not do what ifs. If we lived our life with what ifs and negativity, we might as just give up. Let's just give up life. Let's just drink some tea and never wake up the next morning. Let's just give up. We're talking about sustainability and living life. And I'm going a bit off topic here, but essentially, my companions were basically saying I was talking foolishness, and now that's what they're examining. And this is something I've said like years ago, but social media wasn't big, so I wasn't all that big those days. So I wasn't exactly making videos to be posted to say these things. But it's not a new technology, right? It's not a new concept. And it ties back into another thing that I've said in business, that oftentimes when you're doing business, people are going to tell you you're talking foolishness. It's rubbish. It's too expensive. It can't be done. And they said the very same thing about my suggestion. And what's happening here? They're researching the same thing. And I can tell you something. Many times, even though the prime minister will say, I've mentioned this to this utility company. Note well, Jamaica's government still owns a share in JPS, right? So they still own a fraction of JPS. And even though he may speak very nice, very cordially, even though it sounds like a suggestion, it's really a request. Because, and I think I should probably just make another video about going in more details about this. It's really a request, right? Because many people don't know this, but Hunts Bay is the only um plant that's on Jamaica's island. You guys really think there's a station, there's a plant down by Old Harbor Bay? There is no plant on Jamaica's island. There are barges in the sea generating the electricity and providing us with it. Barges in the sea. There's no there's no power plant on the island apart from Hunts Bay, which is much smaller. And they were able to do that. The things we see as impossible are not impossible. It's all in our mind. So when we go, when you, and I'm saying this to myself 10 years from now, and I'm saying this to you who is going through hell, when you are going through crap and it seems like there is no solution, there is a solution. There is a way of doing it. You just do not see the way. You just aren't aware of the solution right now. Because they did that conversion. You know how I knew? Because we were told on the news that they were thinking about investing in barges. When it was done, it was never there was as far as I know there wasn't any major ribbon cutting. Maybe there was a press conference and all that stuff, but it wasn't like widespread. Most of Jamaica don't know that there are barges in the sea that's generating the electricity. It was a friend of mine that's he's like middle management, so he's in the mix of things, right? And he was telling me, I was like, oh crap, they actually did it. I didn't even know. So people, they did that. They can run it underground, and they can do it without jacking our electricity bills up. They can do it without killing us with high electricity bills. In fact, you know what I also see? I also see large amounts of Jamaicans who said that it was too expensive to buy so large solar panels, 24-watt solar panels. There, well, a lot of people are going to buy 12-watt. The vast majority of people who have solar lights, um, the panels are 6 watts. And there's a circuit board that breaks it down and charges normally 2 lithium batteries in there. Most of those solar lights you see, right? Possibly 2 to 4, depending on the size and how the control module makes it brighter or darker, and the sensor and all that stuff, right? Most people don't are going to say, oh, I can't afford to buy a 24-watt solar panel. I can't afford to buy a 12-watt solar panel. Oh, I can't afford to buy an inverter. I can't afford to buy a control module. Oh, the batteries are so expensive. I see all those people who said they never had any money spending that money. This hurricane is going to make us so much stronger. You see, the Jamaican spirit is too tough to be crushed. It is like I want to reach for it. There's a rock that catches my door. I wanted to reach for it just for demonstrational purposes. We are like volcanic stones. We cannot be broken. The Jamaican spirit is too strong to be crushed. I see not only JPS improving or being forced to improve on the quality of their services, because I can tell you it is grimy on those light posts. When I walk my dog, as somebody who is in ICT, who does cabling, I oftentimes will see fiber optics cables lying on the ground, and I'll see it and I'll examine it. I'll guess and spell whether it's Digicel or Flow. And then I'll oftentimes look on the copper cables, and because copper cables are thicker. And I'll look at them, how horrible they look on the posts. And I'll even look on the GPS electrical cables, and I'll just think it's so disgusting looking up there. Like the average Joe who doesn't do cabling won't understand, but I look up there, I'm like, it looks so disgusting. But I see it happen. I think I see things improving. This catastrophe, I see it making Jamaica better. I see it improve, forcing JPS to improve its electrical network. I see it forcing all the people who couldn't find money to invest, and I do mean when I say invest, in solar technology. And I'm not talking a couple of lights outside. Getting off the grid and using the sun's energy. Because here's the thing, we like to use, I'm saying we, Jamaica, we like to use technology always for negativity and we don't use it for positivity. You know what's interesting? One of the first persons I saw that that used solar in Jamaica was this man who he was a retiree and he got a home improvement loan and he did the whole solar thing. And at that time it was just rich people. It was just rich people and he was like a normal person. And he had some batteries that he used and they weren't like specialized batteries. I'm looking how technology has evolved, and that what I'm talking about, he did that in like 2005, some between 2005 2007. The the technology has improved so much. I mean, in those days, lithium batteries were very small and specified for certain types of devices. And without you guys, I was looking if I had any samples there outside there. And those were lithium polymer batteries, very small, very compact. And lithium ion, the cells that are inside your laptops, have gotten so popular now. They're in every bloody thing you can think of. They're in all your solar lights. There are batteries. I need to examine them. I should have examined one the other day. If it was a lead battery or probably a lithium battery with, well, a battery with multiple lithium cells, because this thing was so small. It was just a little bit bigger than a uh it looked like a 19 plate car battery, but this thing was 24 volts and it was being charged by a solar system, right? The inverter, it was connected to an inverter. And I was like, technology has jumped so much leaps and bounds. And what do? We capitalize on the social media and come with all sort of negativity and